Sudarshan Mohan and Shreyas Ashok on vocal. And Sriya Venkat.
Let the man announce. Let him announce it in order that he wants to.
He's going by art.
Okay. So Sudarshan and Shreyas both learned from Ganakala Vipanchi Shri R. Surya Prakash. And then we have Smriti Sridharan, who first started learning from Srimati Sridharan, her mom, and then currently learns from Vidushi Srimati Kalyani Ganeshan. Next we have Siddharth Gadepalli on the mridangam. He still learns from Sudhindra, and he also takes advanced tutelage from Shri H.S. Sudhindra. And we also have Kapil Ramanarayanan on the mridangam. He has learned for almost 11 years from Vidwan Bangalore Arjun Kumar. And our one out-of-state artist is Sai Karthik Sundar. Sai Karthik Sundar has been learning mridangam from when he was 4 years old from the legendary Sangeeta Kalanidhi Sri Trichar Shankaran. Sai comes from an exceptional musical family. His father is Sri Madurai Sundar, a performing musician in Detroit, who is a disciple of Sri T.N. Seshugopalan. And we would like to welcome him to please come all over to the front side. On vocal, we also have Sreeja Sridharan. Sreeja is a rising senior at NC State, and she learns from Srimati Matangi Shankar. On violin, we have Madhu Vadlamani. He first started learning from Srimati Sujana Parapalli, and now he currently learns from Srimati Sita Ramakrishnan and Srimati Randini Ramakrishnan. And we have Sriya Venkat on the violin. She's been learning for 3 years from Shri Palakadu K. Sridhar. And lastly, we have Sri Ram Venkat, who's been learning from Geeta Ganesh as well as Shri Malladi Surya Babu.
Okay. Hi everyone. Good afternoon. It's our pleasure as students to be with you here to share our thoughts and kind of explain a little bit about the various aspects, some of the various aspects of Manodharmam found in Carnatic music. This presentation is going to be a mix of some talking and also demonstrations from all of us on stage, illustrating the various points. And then I want to emphasize that it's very kind of an open forum. So anytime if you have a question or if you have an answer to a question and you just want to shout it out, please do go ahead. And we can have a discussion, a rolling discourse. In fact, the way kind of it's going to be structured is we're all going to be kind of talking and giving our perspectives on the various types of Manodharmam. And I want to preface everything by just saying that all of us here are students. So this is by no means a lecture or, we're not professing about anything. The main goal of this entire presentation is to demystify a lot of the aspects of Manodharmam from a student's perspective. So if you're a student who's at kind of ground zero, it's your first day of Patu class and just learning Swaravalis, what's the long-term trajectory to get to, starting to sing Alapana, starting to sing Kalpanaswarams, starting to sing Neravel, and kind of what our perspectives on how we're progressing wherever we are on that continuum, and so kind of just sharing with you that you're not alone. It's a tough road, but if you have kind of love for the music and you just want to learn, there's no doubt that you'll get there. So it's not a lecture; it's just a perspective from students. So with that, let's get started. So the plan is going to be, I'm going to be talking about some basic concepts to understand before a student starts Manodharmam. Then we're going to talk about Alapana, Kalpanaswaram, Neravel. And then finally, the mridangam students here are going to give their perspective on how Manodharmam affects them and what kinds of Manodharmam they incorporate into their playing. And our violinists will do the same, and our veena artists will also mention a few words as well. And at the end, we have Mickey Mouse, who will lead us on a interactive demonstration. So stick around for Mickey Mouse at the end. He plays a very important role. It's going to be fun. Okay. So let's get started. Also, please bear with us. We're going to be changing shrutis from G to C sharp back and forth. So it may be a little, but stick with us. Okay. So if you're just starting out learning Carnatic music, most likely your first lesson is Sarigama Padanisa in Maya Madhava Gauda Ragam. And that's how all of us have started, of course. As you progress, I think the key component to all of this is make sure to listen to your guru and follow your guru's guidance, because they will guide you the right way for sure. So that's the number one thing you have to follow throughout. But there are some prerequisites that you should develop in your basic lessons before you can even start to attempt Manodharma. And we'll get to what the word Manodharma means in a little bit. And so there are three major points. So number one is Shruti Suddham. A Shruti in Carnatic music is kind of one of the things that makes Carnatic music a lot different, is that we stick to one pitch as our, we don't change pitches in the middle of song. Or in Western music, you call it a key switch. In songs, some songs switch keys. That never happens in Carnatic music. And it's incredibly important to maintain this pitch throughout your singing. Everyone play sa, or play, or whatever. Sa. You're not in Shruti, that's fine. So it's important to get that, and the best way to do it is just to practice. One of the ways that I like to practice is to really listen to myself in the Shruti box for a long period of time. So when I'm starting practice, it's a good way for me to kind of meditate and start practice, as well as make sure that my Shruti Suddham is on point, is I'll just hold Sajam, Panchamam, and then Male Sajam, which is, lower Sa, Pa, and then high Sa, for a long period of time. So I'll just, Sa, and I'll hold that for as long as I can, listening to the Shruti box and making sure that I'm in tune. It seems simple, but it's one of the most basic things you can do. If you can do it every time you start practice, then it's really going to help to ensure that you have that. Shruti Suddham is probably the most important ingredient to singing Carnatic music, period. So that's definitely an important prerequisite for Carnatic music. The next thing is Swarasthana Suddham, which has a lot to do also with your comprehension of ragas. So when you learn ragas for the first time, your guru will guide you in learning the arohanam and avarohanam of those ragas. Sometimes as music students, we tend to skip over those things, and we directly want to sing the varnam or sing the kriti or whatever, but it's really important to understand what are the different notes that are possible, what notes are in the ragam scale, and what all that means, how all that contributes to the ragam. And one of the ways that I practice to make sure that I have that Swarasthana Suddham is I do the same practice I just did with Sa, Pa, and Sa, but I do it all of the Swarams in the ragam. And those are some basic exercises you can do at the basic level. But Shruti Suddham and Swarasthana Suddham, making sure that you comprehend where the pitch of the notes is in every ragam, and that you can hit that with absolute certainty every time you sing that note is very, very important, and your guru will guide you to get to that point. Third thing, and perhaps most important, is singing with gamakas, or gamakams. Gamakams are the most important thing. They're what give Carnatic music its distinct flavor. There's there's a specific gamakam called the Kampita gamakam, which is just, you have the na 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 na. That little, the movement up and down gives Carnatic music all its flavor. And it sounds so strange if you've never heard Carnatic music before. We all have. but if you haven't, it'll sound really alien. And it comes in all ragams. Can you sing it in some ragam?
Yeah. In Kalyani you have like that.
Yeah, and then and it's reflected in the nishadam. And so if you just sing padani, it's a good flat ni to give in Kalyani as a flavor. But if you sing that ni sa ni da pa ma pa da ni da pa ma pa da ma da pa ma ga, if you sing that all the time, it's not going to give that na 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 with the sa, right? And so those are the types of things that you have to understand. And gamakams are essentially lies. We're really lying every time we sing Carnatic music because we say ni, but we're not actually singing ni. Ni sa sa ni sa ni sa. So that particular nishadam is not actually mostly on the ni. Ni is somewhere down there, but we're singing ni na na na. It's more on the sa than it is on the ni. Another example, Shankarabharanam. We all know that as the Shankarabharanam ma. That's what you sing to get that Shankarabharanam flavor. But are you actually singing ma? No, you're singing You're just giving a little flash of the ma. It's not actually the madhyamam. It's just the gandharam but we say ma because that is the valuation of madhyamam and Shankarabharanam. The reason I say all of this is because if you don't understand, and I'm not saying as a beginner you have to understand all of it, but if you don't listen, listen a lot to Carnatic music in general and kind of develop these natural, intuitive kind of understanding of some of these things, it's really hard to step up into the level of singing Manodharmam in a way that it flows and sounds good and sounds like good Carnatic music. So what is the definition of the word Manodharmam? Can any of you tell me in the audience? Open forum, you can just shout it out. Okay, if you don't shout it out, I'm going to start calling names. And the younger you are, the more chance you have of getting called on. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, Siri, what is Manodharmam? Good, improvising. Okay, I have one. Mukund, do you have any idea of what Manodharmam is? Anything? Okay, come back to me. Okay, someone. Anything other than just improvisation? Maybe an example, something. There's no lyrics. Partially true. Anything else? Any of the parents?
Imagination.
Imagination. That's a good one. Woo! That's a good example. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Okay. So yeah, Manodharmam is basically a form of the term encompasses multiple forms of imagination, of improvisation in Carnatic music. But it's important to remember that it's structured improvisation. You can't just sing whatever, whenever, and then call it Manodharmam because you're doing something different. That's not exactly what it is. So we're going to talk about the key classes and structures and traditions that are very important to keep in mind as you start doing Manodharmam. And I'm not just going to talk at you. We're going to have a lot of the students give their own little renditions of different Manodharmam aspects, and we're going to break down of how you should be approaching Manodharmam at various levels of your musical education, from start to more advanced level. So let's start with Alapana. I'm going to ask again, what is Alapana? This time I'm going to call on some of the older folks in the audience. Let's see. Ushanti, what is Alapana?
Probably the introduction of the raga without the lyrics.
I think that's a good description. Yeah, exactly. An alapana is just a method used by the singer to bring the audience into the mood of the raga. or whatever ragam he wants. And so it prefaces the composition, usually prefaces the composition of a particular song. Doesn't always have to, but usually does. And so basically you sing the notes of the ragam in key phrases. These phrases are passed down to us from generations of musicians and our gurus. And so we learn the key contours of all the ragams, and then we kind of sing them with phrases in our mouth. And the reason I say phrases in our mouth is because you really have to, you can't just kind of say everything. I can't just go like, sing like random syllables when I'm singing Alapana. When you're starting out, it's important to just keep it to na, sing like this. So na 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 na. So, just a little bit, that's just kind of elaborating on the contours of the notes and the gamakams that all make up this unique sound that we call the ragam that I just sang. What is that ragam? Shankarabharam. But, okay, it's okay. I'll get you next time. Okay, so right now, I'm going to have Shriya give us a quick demonstration of how you would render Shankarabharanam in a very short kind of time period as a beginner. So, singing in Alapana is definitely not inaccessible if you're a beginner. If you're only learning for a few years, with the guidance of your guru, you can approach it. So let's kind of demystify and detangle what Shriya just played. So the number one thing is that I'll obviously follow your guru's advice, but we should really learn a lot of Varnams and Kritis in a ragam before you start attempting Manodharmam in the particular ragam, particularly when you're a beginner. The reason is very simple. The knowledge of Shankarabharanam that we have as artists comes completely from our data bank of previous compositions, of Varnams, whatever, and whatever's been passed down from the artists who have sung them before. that's what our knowledge and our picture of Shankarabharanam is. So if you don't know a few, Varnams and Kritis in Shankarabharanam, it's kind of tough to just go in cold and attempt an alapana. So then how do you use that information after you learn a bunch of Kritis? You can adopt a lot of those phrases into your alapana to start off with. So, for example, there's a very famous Tyagaraja Kriti in Shankarabharanam. Swararaga Sutadashayuga. So can you play the beginning of your alapana? Beautiful. Yeah, so you can see how easy it is to kind of just take from a data bank, and you just grab that little bit and just adapt it to the alapana. That's basically the pallavi of that song, and it just made a quick outline, and you know exactly what rag I'm talking about, and you're put in that mood. And so that's one of the benefits of learning a lot of these kritis. Other things you can do is you can listen a lot. And that's one of the things we're going to be saying over and over again. Sometimes the only way you can understand a lot of these topics and try to attempt them is if you listen to Carnatic music nonstop. Unfortunately, that's just kind of a prerequisite for doing Manodharmam. You really have to live it, you have to just breathe it, you have to steep in Carnatic music, and then you'll get it, no doubt. And so Shriya incorporated a very famous kind of way to leave out Panchamam and Sajjam. So Pa and Sa, which make up Sa, Pa, Sa, are Shruti. She played a very kind of key phrase that comes in certain ragams, leaving out those. So if you want to just play that. That's not the first time we've heard it. Shriya just played it before in her actual alapana, and Srihari sang it in his alapana. So, it's these themes come back over and over again, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes people think Manodharmam is you have to invent new things. No, it's basically your artistic creativity and how you put together the different ingredients that we've already come to know as Shankarabharanam. And it's how you put together in the unique way in which you package it in an alapana that makes it your own and makes it unique. But at the start, you shouldn't stress yourself out. If it's your first day singing an alapana, you're not going to sit down and suddenly produce a 14-minute, essay on Shankarabharanam that, people can listen to. It takes years of practice. Shreya, how many times have you practiced that alapana this week? Yeah, like a lot. So, the reason I bring that up is that at the beginning, it's completely okay to memorize. That may be controversial. But when I was starting out, I memorized a lot. When I was just beginning to sing Manodharmam, because you don't know it, honestly you have no clue. So I used to just take whatever my guru told me to sing and I just memorize it and sing it. But over time, as long as you work on how to sing Manodharmam at home when you're practicing, eventually that'll come through. And we're going to talk about that more throughout. So we're going to do a couple more examples of how you can do alapanas at the basic level with Sreeja and Smriti coming up. So Sreeja, why don't you go ahead and give them your... That is, starting with the kids first. Yes. No, not Shankarabharanam. I'm not that predictable, Mukund. I wouldn't give you Shankarabharanam twice in a row. Anyone else? I'll start with you two because you're the
This weather happened a lot this week.
Oh yeah, I did actually. Oh, who said that? Okay. Thank you, Vishal. Yeah, that's Amrita Varshini. So, Sreeja did a very good job of starting and giving a quick flash of all the kind of different aspects of Amrita Varshini in a small package. Now this is useful now, but it's also useful when you're doing even a longer alapana. You really want to give the flavor of the ragam quickly, and we're going to get to that with a couple more demos later on. But she did a great job of putting Amrita Varshini in a small package and an accessible package, as you can do as a beginner. And so that's really important, and you can only really do that when you understand the contours of the ragam. Shrija, what kritis in Amrita Varshini did you review for this? So yeah, so she knew a couple of kritis and she drew from that data bank to make the alapana. And then she gave a nice essay of what Amrita Varshini is, and we were all able to understand it. That's a great kind of way to start as you start going about putting together alapanas and presenting them. Smriti now is going to give us talk a little bit about how alapana is different in the veena as opposed to just vocal and violin. And so I'll let her give a couple of points and then play a quick alapana.
Is it on now? So unlike vocal and violin, on the veena you can't really sustain a note for a very long period of time, so you'd have to use like several plucks to get the same sustainment. So if I just play like the song. As you can see, it doesn't it fades out after a while, so you have to use like enough plucks so that people can hear you at the same time. Don't use a lot so it sounds like swarams. Yeah, that's about it.
Anyone know the ragam? You can just shout it out.
Char Kesi.
Aha, vale, Char Kesi. Okay, so those are some pointers on how you can approach Alapana as a beginner. Once again, two main points I want to highlight is listen a lot as a beginner. That way, one, you'll develop your love for the music, is probably the most important thing. But two, you'll also get a nice picture of the different ragams and how people sing alapanas and stuff like that. Now, Shreyas and Sriram are going to lead us on a few points that you have to keep in mind when you're kind of in that intermediate level and you're trying to get to an advanced level in Manodharmam. So you guys want to take it away?
Yeah. So one of the most important parts of the alapana is the very first and second phrases you sing. So the reason is that the first phrase you sing kind of hooks the audience in to what's about to come forward. And so it's very important that your first phrase be a classic, iconic phrase from the raga. So I'm gonna make like a movie analogy here. So like if you're watching a movie in like the first 5 minutes, like if it hooks you in, you'll be more likely to finish it out, right? If it's really boring, then you might not decide to like leave halfway through or something. So for example, in Kamboji, so in Kamboji, there's several ways to start, but one of the easiest ways is to sing like the iconic phrase in Kamboji, which is Maga Padasa. Maga Padasa. Because there's no other ragam that has that. And so by doing that, you've instantly set the tone that I'm going to sing Kamboji, and it's probably going to be good. If you sing that right, then people will be like, oh, this is Kamboji, it's going to be good. So a way to start this is like So with those three phrases, hopefully all of you know, like, okay, this is Kamboji, and it's like, it's very obvious. So now, like, if you take it to the movie, it's like you've started the movie and there's some like action scene, and now you want to know what happens later. So there's alternate ways. So if you start at Doar Gandharam, it's a lot harder to get the flavor, but it's doable. So one way to start would be to say, na. So now, if you're gonna start that way, it's a lot harder because you've sung something that's a little bit ambiguous. You still don't know. It could be Shankarabharanam maybe. It could be Hari Kamboji. It could be Kamboji. So it's harder to start that way because, like, you're not sure exactly. Instead, you can do something like na 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 da da na na. So now that's very clear. It's Kamboji, and you know what's gonna come next. Now, of course, this is just a guideline. Of course, like several artists will choose to start the way I just said, that it's a little bit harder, but they know what they're doing. And at a beginner stage, you don't really know what you're doing yet, so it's easier to take the easy road than the hard road. So now there's also other ways to kind of go wrong. One way is like you can sing Kamboji in a lot of ways, but there's specific phrases that you should start with. For example, I can sing the phrase na 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 na. So that's a very Kamboji phrase. But if I started with that phrase, it's like you turn on the TV and the first thing you hear is Luke, I'm your father. Like, what are you? There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go after that. So yes, it's correct. No one can say no, that's not Kamboji. But it's not an ideal way to start. So I guess the key takeaway is, for any ragam that you're gonna sing, listen to a lot of like big artists and figure out, okay, what is the iconic way to start this ragam, and then go with that. That's the most easy way to have a good start to the alapana.
Building off of what Shreyas just mentioned, it's oftentimes important to keep in mind how long you're going to be singing for. Even ranging from how long the entire concert is going to be. So if you're giving a 15-minute concert versus giving a 1.5-hour concert, even inside that 1.5 hour concert, if you're giving one, what is it going to be your main piece, or is it going to be your just your one of your first few pieces that you're just going to start off the concert with? So it's important to frame your ragam in such a way that you don't look like you're trying to sing for 30 minutes when you're actually only going to sing for like a minute or 2 minutes. So if I start off a ragam like this. Anybody want to guess what that is? Okay, yeah. So if I start off like that, that's kind of like you're bringing the entire arognam into the picture in the first few seconds. Whereas if I start like I start like that sounds like I've only used like half the octave right there, and it's really like I'm trying to build that up to a larger ragam that's probably going to take at least like about 5 minutes, hopefully at least like more than that. So it's important to keep in mind how long you're singing for, especially plan that out beforehand. And though you say that, it's also, you can always start a ragam by bringing out the entire arognam in the one phrase, because that often, like if you just finished singing like a slow submain in like Bhairavi or Tori or something, and you're trying to you sang your little filler piece in the middle, but you're trying to start your main piece, and you start that again like really slow, then people are still gonna be like, okay, we're gonna be here for another 2 hours, and like try to like almost tune out them, unless they're like really hardcore listeners. So if you want to still like capture their attention again, you really want to just bring out like a flash of the ragam, and to do that you want to use like the entire arognam phrase. So use the first example I sang in Kiravani, that you could use that to even start like so then you could bring that into a bigger framework, and then build off of that, which instead of sounding like just bringing one note for like 5 minutes and then just hoping that people will stay there is it'll be better to keep the kacheri in like a nice beat. So
the other thing is when you're starting off, it's important to also pick ragams. If it's going to be your first on-stage presentation, might not be a good idea to sing 15 minutes of Chandra counts. Maybe just table that for later. Start with something simple, because that's one of the things you tend to see. Build off from the basics, from the kind of the Carnatic music idiom ragams, classic Shankara, Varnam, Bhairavi, Kalyani. Kalyani is an easy one to start. Panturali is an easy one to start with. Even just if you're singing one song, Hamsadwani is always there. So now building off the topic of different ragams, if you're singing more Sampurna ragam like Shankaravarnam, whatever, it's a different approach than when you're singing a Rakti ragam that's based on phrases. So Ganesh, do you want to elaborate a little bit on,
Sure. So for a ragam that is not a Sampurna ragam, which basically means it doesn't go in a straight linear line, like Sarigama so there's like odd varieties. So what you want to keep in mind is that you want to make sure you hit all the key phrases, because you can't just do whatever you want, because it could not be part of that ragam or like the guidelines for that ragam. So you wanna, for this, you wanna know a lot of kritis in that ragam, because the kritis will make sure to highlight all the main phrases of that ragam. So, for example, I'll be playing saranga. In saranga, there's not that many phrases you can explore wildly. Like you can't do that many phrases. So you want to stick to the phrases that are from songs and that define saranga really well. And a good way to do this is, like I said, listen to many recordings, many songs, know a lot of songs, and especially listen to your guru and like whatever their sangatis are, because that will really help you be able to build your own sangatis as well as use their own. So I'll be playing saranga as an example.
Also, make sure to tune your violin. I was kidding. Things also for specific ragams is specific things. So one sampradayam for saranga is you end the alapana and pa. Na 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 na. And that's just something I don't know why, but that's just something that's been done by artists for a long time, so we do it. When you're progressing along as a student and you get to a point where you're learning more and more ragams and you're presenting more and more ragams, you're going to be presenting ragams sometimes that are very close to each other. And so how do you kind of, one of the key things is your knowledge of the ragam has to be solid so that you don't mix them up on stage and sing the wrong ragam, basically. I'm going to be giving you an example of two ragams that are very, very close. They're Nayaki and Darbar. And I want you guys to kind of figure out which one's Nayaki, which one's Darbar. I'll make it kind of obvious, semi-obvious.
We can have a vote after you sing.
Yeah, you can have a vote. So I'm going to sing A and then the other one. That's it. was A?
Raise your hands if you think A was Nike.
A is Nike, raise your hands. A is Darbar, raise your hands. Okay. Okay, so I made it semi-obvious. The key thing there is, what I use is my knowledge of compositions. So in Nike, I know Ni Bhajana Gana and Raganaikam. So that really helps me ground that. In Darbar, I know kind of know Yochana. I know Yochana, I know Mundu Venuka, I know a couple others. So that you need to kind of keep that, and of course, you need to mess up a couple times to figure it out. Honestly, to this day, I think the other day I was trying to sing Arabi and I just started singing Devagandhari and it just happens. So, and so if you do that, if you mess up a few times, you realize I'm messing up, then you fix it, you'll be fine. So we're gonna kind of wrap up the Alapana section and move on to Kalpana Swaram. And Ganesh, we'll do your violin piece at the end, the accompaniment part. Okay. So let's move on to Kalpana Swaram. So, does anyone know what Kalpana Swaram is?
Before that, anyone have any questions about the Alap?
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry.
So why is Alap knowledge the beginning of a good
So it's a very simple question. It's a good question. It's very simple. It's the same thing as why a lot of things are beginning. Why do you eat appetizer before you eat the main course? Because it's an appetizer. It builds up your appetite and your desire for that main course. That's why we sing the Alapana at the beginning. It puts the audience in the mood, and it really builds up the anticipation for what the song is going to be, because the song is that punchline. Because the other thing is, when you sing an Alapana as students, one of the best thing is when you get a main artist that's sung an hour and a half of kacheri, and you get and suddenly you're like, now I'm gonna get like an hour and a half of good Shankara Bharanam, and then you're suddenly, with your pals that are sitting, you're suddenly guessing what song it is, and it builds that anticipation. A lot of it is just grounded in tradition. Honestly, that's how it's been done, and it sounds good, so we do it.
Who decided it?
These are, it's basically
This is a format, right? So somebody must have decided.
yeah, it's been sung this way for a long time.
Kapil Ramanarayanan, I think.
He
He
decided
came up with the Kacheri format.
the kacheri format, but I'm not sure Arikuri came up with the thing of.
Okay, and just for like another tidbit, like this format isn't just limited to Carnatic music. Like in Arab music, they have like the same concept as a ragam. It's called a makam,
Yep.
and they do the same. They do like an outline before. I don't know if they don't call it alapana. I don't know what they call it, but it's the same principle. They'll do that, and then they'll play the song, and then they'll do their improvisation and stuff. So it's just like, I don't know, hundreds of years worth of people did it this way, so we keep doing it.
Thousands. Not
Yeah, I guess thousands. I was conservative. I didn't know.
Okay, so Kalpana Swarams? Alright, yes.
I think Kalpana Swarams are like when you're repeating.
When you're what?
Repeating.
Repeating what?
The same thing over and over.
I know what you're getting at, Mukund, and that's the next thing. It's not Kalpana Swaram, it's the next thing. I want you to tell me that exactly when I ask what is the next thing. Okay? Okay, so Kalpana Swarams are basically incorporating the wonder of rhythm and talam into and ragam improvisation. So basically what you're doing is you're singing the swarams, the actual notes, and you're creating patterns and melodies. Most important thing when singing Kalpana Swaram is your knowledge of the yadam. Yadam basically is a Tamil word for place. So it's the place to which you sing the Kalpana Swaram. So basically you take any word from a kriti that you know, and you sing swarams, and then you end at that particular spot in the talam. So you have a cycle of talam, adi talam, whatever, and you can. So the simplest way to do it is taking for a song that it's at the beginning of the talam. So Swaminatha Paripalaya Nipamari Swaminatha Nipamabani Panisani Sani Papamari Swaminatha Paripa. Or you could do more exotic items as well. It's all for musicianship. In the previous concert, we heard swarams for Paripalaya ni ba ma ba ni sa sa ni ba ma pa di pa la ya. Ni ba ma ga ma ri sa ni sa ri ga ma ba ma ga ba ri pa la ya su ma. We heard that in the previous concert. So you can kind of change it and just make the kacheri more lively, more interesting. But as a student, one of the hardest concepts to get is that concept of yadam and singing to that yadam. It's very hard to grasp onto that and to start doing it. There's a huge starting kind of, in chemistry we use activation energies for enzymes. So it's a huge activation. You kind of cross that hump to be able to sing Kalpana Swarams. And I'm going to have Sreeja, Smriti, and Shriya help me with a quick exercise that is a great way to help you get started. So we're just going to do the exercise and then we'll... So, simple exercise. You can put talam with us so you can know. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Rivatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Sariva Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham Tapi Ganapatim Pagariva Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Ni Pagariva Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Sani Pagariva Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim Tapi Ganapatim. Okay, so what we did there was very simple. And it only works with repetition. If you're first starting to sing swarams, this is a great way to do it. So you just sing the line that you're going to sing the swaram to over and over again with talam. So, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje, Vatapi Ganapatim, and that really grounds you to where the Vatapi starts. And then you sing one swaram to Vatapi, two swarams, three swarams, four swarams, five swarams, and you just keep building until you're able to sing lots of swarams. And so build your concept that the yada